I was sitting there last night after that game and listening to all the post-game press conference with Coach McDonald and Gino and Julian Love and everybody, and just going, all right, what is it? This is it that? And coming to the simplest conclusion, maybe the Seahawks just aren't a very talented team. Maybe they're just a mediocre team. Maybe they don't have. I felt like there was a clear disparity in talent between them and the 49ers. I just felt like we were watching two different levels last night. As much as they got within 5 points toward the end of the game, it felt like they were getting their butt kicked the whole game. And then the big run at the end of the game, and they scored the touchdown, seals it. But it just, I'm going, all right, yeah, new coach, new system. I'm sure that has some play in this. But I don't know how ultimately talented they are. I don't know. Is that way off? Do you think they're a very good team that's playing poorly, or is this a middling team that can play better at times, but ultimately is just kind of a middling team?
Well, if you want to look at the 49ers, to me, first of all, and you and I were raving about him, before the show, but Brock Purdy, he's incredible. I mean, what he did last night, I don't know if he's going to be like a Pro Bowler this year or what, but I think he's the best quarterback we've seen by far. Even Jared Goff.
Him and Goff are the two.
Yeah, I mean, he went 18 for 18, but some of the things that Purdy does and how he operates that offense, it's amazing. I mean, they have next-level players. I feel like we have guys that I think are going to be next-level players. And then, we have some really good, Witherspoon is really good. Mm-hmm. And you look at Big Cat. I think he's really good. He had a play where he ran Brock Purdy out on the sidelines, ran him down. And, for a big guy like that, and they were lining him up on the outside, I feel like all of those guys they're superstars, but not quite maybe as established. So as far as the talent goes, yeah, I think they have what I call the horses. I think they have the horses. I just think that, there's a couple of things, especially on defense, that they're not getting done. And that's one of the reasons why we've got third-string running backs. And look, I don't mean to demean a third-string running back in the NFL. It's incredible. If you make it in the NFL, you're a really good player. Yeah. A really good player. But, some of these guys are undrafted free agents, and the rest of the NFL didn't think that they were good. But if you put them in a scheme where there's going to be open gaps, and that's the first thing I said to Rabel when we started the broadcast, I'm like, if I'm the 49ers, I'm going to run a stretch play or a wide zone, they call it, and I'm going to hand off the ball to the running back, and I'm going to see if they've taken care of their gap problem. Mm-hmm. And we found out that was not the case.
Yeah, and you're right. You were saying it throughout the week, and it seemed like the obvious move in any sport, right? Until they prove they can stop me doing this, whether you're talking about basketball, baseball, football, whatever it is, fighting, until they prove they can stop it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing success when it happens, so I'm going to do that. But overall, I mean, Mike McDonald after the game kind of had that same look, like he's, when he's asked a question, he kind of looks up in the air like he's searching for the right words, and talking about stating the simple fact, they're just not playing well right now.
Yeah, look, it stings. It stings to have lost 3 in a row. To lose against your division rival at home in prime time. Such a great environment. Guys fought their tails off down to the last minute, but we're not playing well enough to beat the team we need to be. So the message to the team is we have the people in the building, our players, our coaches, to become a really good football team. And right now we're coming up short.
They are. And then Dave, the defense is problematic across the board, but the rushing defense, just their ability to stop the run is absent. Just looking at the numbers, they've held one team so far of the 6 to under 100 yards rushing, and that was the Broncos, who had 99. And it's just gotten progressively worse each week, allowing more and more yardage.
228.
And that's with backups. I mean, it's just I'm trying to figure out, that's your problem. That's what you're isolating on film, and that's what you're focusing on in camp or in practice. And yet it seems like it's getting worse. And quickly, Mike McDonald talking about why the defense is having problems with the run.
Yeah, guys aren't inventing things. They're trying to do it the right way. We're either stopping them right now at the line of scrimmage, or the ball's spitting and it's explosive. So when that happens, it's either on the front line, guys getting out of their gaps, second level not fitting it correctly, and not getting it on the ground on the third level. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, here's just one example. And this happens on every play where you see a running back. Sometimes, look, you gotta tip your cap and say, okay, that was a good block. Or, I got beat on that one. They got a couple of really good offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. Aaron Banks and Trent Williams are good. They are good offensive linemen. I think McKivitz is a pretty good right tackle. Their center is pretty good, Jake Brendel. But what happened, so on the last play where Garendo runs all the way down to like the 2-yard line, Spoon has to track him down. If you go and look at that play from the end zone, big number 97, Hankins, he gets turned. You can't do that. You can't play run defense that way. You can't get, if you're a linebacker standing behind the D lineman, you should be able to see his number at all times. It should never turn sideways. You don't want to be looking at the Seahawk on the sleeve of his shoulder. That means you got turned. And what that means is now you're sealed off. And now you can't get to that gap next to you. Mm-hmm. You're pushing, but what the running back is looking at and what they're looking for is, they have white pants on. Yeah, so you want to see a hallway.
It's a weird aside.
Here's why: you want to see a hallway of white butts. That's what you want to see, and that's exactly what they saw. They got turned.
Yeah, and so they're sealed off, so and there's a little tunnel.
Exactly, and it's all sealed off, and it's on the next level and the next level, and that's exactly what running backs look for. And so, it was, that was kind of weird. If you kind of cut that out, you're like, what color pants were they wearing? What does that have to do with run defense? Well, I'll tell you. Just give me a chance.
You're like Lefko the other day, talking in the middle of his statement and going, oh, we're all wearing gray shirts.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I was just about to ask whether you could actually hear yourself when you're saying these things because, Dave.
Did that not make sense?
No.
How
didn't.
so? A hallway of white butts?
Yeah, that was the one. I was hoping you weren't going to say it again. I was trying to point it out without saying it.
Run right
there you go.
Through the hallway. It's like Indiana Jones running out of the Temple of Doom.
I think we're going to hear it again at the end of the show, probably, too.
I would think so. But no, that's exactly what you're looking for, and that's what they got. And that's what, if that happens, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in big trouble. I don't care how good your players are. So now, look, if you're just a monster and you can just bench press the guy into the gap and, clog it up or whatever, but these guys are big and strong too. And if that's what happens, then, and so it poses the question, like, is that coaching or is that the player? And I'm like, ultimately it's the player, but if you have a player that continually gets turned and sealed off, and maybe, look, Hankins has done a good job. It's not like he's doing that every play, but, at what point do you fire the guy?
Yeah.
Right? And say, look,
have a seat.
And now all of a sudden that goes back to the coaching part of it. But, I always blame the players because, look, what your responsibility is. You've been taught all week what to do. And, if you're not executing it out on the field, then I got to replace you.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe that's where they're at that point. I do think they have the players, but, and I guess I don't like blaming the coaches, but I guess if you can't get your guys to do the right thing, then it's on them maybe. I don't know. But ultimately, I go back and go, look, you can't get turned there, dude. You just know it.
Well, Julian Love afterwards, he comes out and speaks. He's so good. He's just such a great communicator. even after the third loss in a row, I respect a guy who gets out there and answers questions and not giving you cliches. And some of them are cliche, but he's talking about fundamentally that they're just not very sound right now.
Yeah, I don't want to excuse it to being the new scheme and all that stuff. I think it's just fundamental stuff. We have to just put just keep it black and white in the meeting room and address what needs to be addressed in terms of simple stuff. And that's the good part. That's the promising part, is that it's bread and butter things that we're not executing on. Mike's really dialing it up or trying to dial it up. And we just had to find a way to mesh and catch our flow. And so we're still kind of catching that stride and trying to figure it out.
I love Julian, and I love the way he communicates and everything. And you know what? He's right. But sometimes that's kind of discouraging because you're like, okay, if it is the little things and they're very simple, why aren't we fixing them?
Yeah, it's not like they just cropped up in this game.
Yeah.
So
Right. I mean, it's gotten really steadily worse. So, and look, that's just look. I was a 2-down linebacker, and my job was always stopping the run, and so it's something I pay a little bit more attention to, and and I'm not being I'm not making it personal or anything, but it's frustrating to me because it is one little thing or two little things, and that's the thing. I always say this. In high school and college, you can make a mistake. Nobody's going to find it. Not all the time. In the NFL, you make a mistake, it gets found out.
yeah.
There's a bunch of coaches over there with those little Microsoft pads, the one like Gino was smashing over his head, and they've got those every play, and they're like, hey, they're doing this and they're doing that. We can exploit that, and there's like a bunch of interns and coaching assistants and players getting all the information, and it's all out there, and so they're gonna exploit that. And if you're making mistakes, especially if it's consistently, then you're going to get beat.